Mami water, and that inspired her to, since we did enjoy, that inspired her to publish that and began distributing that to schools in the East. So Tana Press, she formed that in 1977 and started reprinting and publishing books that she had written. Now, she was obviously very inspired by Chinua Achebe, who's my godfather, and so Chinua Achebe was facilitated, obviously, her Heinemann publishing Efuru for the first time.
A lot has been done to keep her legacy alive.
Tried to get on with her legacy by, trying to reestablish Tana Press, and in 2016 we celebrated the 50th anniversary of Efuru, and we did a countrywide tour, which a lot of it is online, and then I was able to publish the 50th anniversary of Efuru using Tana Press. So that was my first foray into publishing.
The influence of the Uguta Lake on Flora's writings is evident.
What resonates in my mother's books is the lake. Uguta has Uguta Lake, which everybody knows is a beautiful lake, and you have the feminine part of Uguta Lake, which is the lake, and then you have the masculine part, which is Urashi River, and there's a dividing line, different colors, they never mix and all that. My mom growing up was very influenced by her stepmother, I believe, who her grandfather had many wives. So she would spend a lot of time with her stepmom and learn a lot of stories. And those stories a lot had to do with the lake, Obuide, and all that. So she kind of developed a lot of interest about the lake. And Uguta, anybody from Uguta knows that the lake is a very essential part of it. But the story of the lake goddess transcends Efuru, Idu, and finally the lake goddess, the book that she wrote. And in that book, she actually spoke to the Ezenwanyi. She researched and spoke to the Ezenwanyi in Uguta, who still worships the lake and the lake goddess. So she did quite some research. She was very intrigued.
Efuru is pure fiction, drawing from Uguta Lake and the priestess.
It's pure fiction. It does draw from Uguta culture, that's for sure, and draws from folk tales that she heard over and over again growing up.
Uzoma sees his mother as a womanist rather than a feminist.
She wrote about women, and I've always said that womanism, which she speaks about, is her main theme and not feminism. And with womanism talks more of female independence.
Her other works include Idu, One is Enough, Women Are Different, Never Again, Wives at War, This is Lagos, and The Lake Goddess, published posthumously, and more.
Literary Instrument looks at oxymoron on this package.
An oxymoron is a figure of speech that combines two words possessing contradictory meanings to create a startling effect. The term itself contains two opposing ideas from the Greek word oxus, meaning sharp, and moranos, meaning dull or stupid. Overall, as a literary device, oxymoron function as a means of getting the reader's attention through the pairing of opposing or contradictory words. Reading these words together will often cause a reader to pause and think about what the writer is trying to convey, or think about the complexity of an idea. Types of oxymoron are endless as they can be created through combination of different parts of speech. Using an adjective that means something opposite from the noun it describes. Examples include deafening silence, best enemy, dull roll, open secret, sweet sorrow. Using two nouns with opposing meanings. Examples include love-hate relationship, paper towel. Using two verbs with opposing meanings. Examples include to agree to disagree. Using two adjectives with contradicting meanings. Examples include alone together and bittersweet. Using an unexpected adverb to describe an adjective or verb. Examples include naturally weird, clearly confused. Suddenly, the room is filled with a deafening silence. The comedian was seriously funny. You are clearly confused by the situation you have found yourself in. Live recording. Student teacher. Blacklist. Oxymorons in literature helps focus the reader's attention to the existence of more than one way of viewing an experience. It adds flavor to everyday speech. It also entertains. Many writers use them to be humorous. It helps to give a dramatic effect in a literary work.
Oxymoron educates us with humor. This edition, as usual, will bring you the African wise saying and also urge you to remain peaceful and a productive African. Till next week, remain safe.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
The tractor trailer. 18-year-old Midi was also texting when his car slammed into the back of a truck at 80 miles per hour. His final text was,
"Driving and Facebooking is not safe. Ha ha."
You probably think that this thing can happen to you. You are not alone. 55% of young adult drivers say that it is easy to text and drive. 3/4 of the same young adults feel that they are really good texting behind the wheels. Reality is, they are all delusional. That quick look at your phone takes longer than you think. 5 seconds are really long. Imagine you're driving on the road and someone suddenly covers your face for 5 quick seconds, like this. You will probably feel very lucky if you didn't crash. But you chose to take your sight off the road just like that anytime you're sending or reading a text. Texting and driving is fast becoming the leading cause of teens' death on the road world over, surpassing even drinking and driving. But if you think dying in a car crash is the worst thing that happened to you, I tell you it is not. You can survive after you've killed someone else. Imagine spending the rest of your life knowing you killed someone just because of a text message. Now imagine going to jail just because of text message. Still think it will never happen to you? Still think you're the special one? There are so many that have been found guilty of texting while driving. But you can make a difference, just like so many young people have vowed not to text and drive. Leave your cell phone alone while driving. If you must send a text message, pull off the road into a parking lot or anywhere that is safe. No text is so important that it should cost your life or the life of someone else. You are not different. You are not special. You're just another accident waiting to happen if you do not desist from texting and driving. So, don't text and drive.
President Buhari tasks APC leaders on unity, sacrifice, and nation building.
For all of us as leaders of the party to maintain discipline and ensure that this new momentum is protected.
President Buhari calls for synergy in the fight against crime and criminality in the country.
Federal government reduces pump price of petrol by 5 naira following meeting with organized labor.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss increase in COVID-19 cases.
Now, the latest figures from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, show some 550 new COVID-19 infections were confirmed just last night. Now, the rise in COVID-19 cases over the past week or so has sparked apprehension that Nigeria may, after all, be experiencing or could experience the second wave of infections that the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 had been warning about. Kieran?
Yes, now the blatant disregard for COVID-19 guidelines these days is very alarming, Kingsley. And, you know, doctors say the Gwakwalada Isolation Center in the nation's capital is already filled to capacity with COVID-19 patients. Unless people begin to take responsibility and respect COVID-19 guidelines, particularly those of wearing a mask, washing hands regularly, or using alcohol-based hand sanitizers, as well as observing physical distancing during interactions, we may continue to see a rise in cases.
Indeed, Kieran, the month of June now seems like a lifetime away. That was when Nigeria was managing just over 10,000 COVID-19 cases. Now, daily updates from the NCDC have shown a rise and fall in the statistics for a while now. But between mid-October till date, Nigeria is said to be managing well over 70,000 cases of, or recorded rather, not managing, because we've had some persons that have been discharged. Nigeria has now recorded well over 70,000 cases of coronavirus infections. And
people started letting down their guards when 37 cases was reported on the 21st of October 2020. And on 2nd November, the NCDC
low data as an excuse for nonchalance and skepticism about the dangers of the virus, Kieran.
310 cases were confirmed on December 5th, and Abuja recorded 128 infections, followed by Lagos, which had 86. And on December 8, 2020, of the 390 new infections reported by the NCDC, the FCT and Gombe recorded 89 each. And just last night, Lagos recorded 219, and the 550 cases, while Abuja has 168 cases and still counting. Now, what exactly was causing the low data that gave Nigerians a false sense of security? And how can Nigeria avoid a second wave of COVID-19? We'll be probing these issues more on Good Morning Nigeria today as we discuss increase in COVID-19 cases. I am Kieran Umar. It's good to have you join us on this particular edition of the program. We thank you very much for joining us.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo, and I would like to warmly welcome back our colleague Kieran Umayo, who's been away on a deserved break. Kieran, good to have you. I hope you had
nice to be here again.
Yeah, yes. You had a good rest. The pitch of your voice, just like that of Juma Yusuf yesterday, is quite high, and your appearance is cool. Man, you look very calm, and your face, I'm sure that you are highly marketable at this time. Look at your haircut, Kieran. You can see the styling that your barber gave you. I think that's some good coffee on there.
Why don't you leave me alone? Let's get this program done.
All right, so Chief Kieran Umayo is back on Good Morning Nigeria, and our pleasure always to have you with us on the program, and we're broadcasting live from our Abuja.
Issues of party organs are respected by every member.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong case for state governors to work more closely with traditional rulers and other community leaders towards improving local intelligence gathering that will aid security agencies in the fight against crime and criminality. This was at a crucial meeting with members of the Nigerian Governors Forum on the nation's security situation. OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for his continued support for OPEC in advocating markets. President for his pivotal role in the declaration of cooperation DOC process between OPEC and non-OPEC producing countries. Our federal government has reduced the pump price of fuel by 5 naira following its meeting with organized labor on Monday. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, has confirmed that the reduction would bring down the pump price of National Integrated Community Development Agency. The bill, which has now passed second reading, is targeted at reducing poverty among rural dwellers in line with the National Economic Empowerment Development.
Rural integration development involves a coordinated program that requires integrating the development challenges that rural people face to help improve their living conditions.
And meanwhile, the House of Representatives has passed a resolution urging that policies, protocols and procedures for the purchase of arms be reviewed by the federal government. This followed a motion moved by Representative Ibrahim Al-Mustafa Aliyu at plenary.
There are no proper protocols in place to ensure that arms, ammunition and related hardware that are being purchased are properly documented.
And away from that, 550 more COVID-19 infections have been recorded in 16 states, and the FCT increasing the total number of confirmed cases to 70,195 cases in the country. And of the 550 new COVID-19 cases, Lagos has 219. The FCT has 168. Kaduna 52, Kwara 19, Kano and Rivers have 15 cases each. Sokoto 10, Enugu 9.
Such as farmer money, trader money, market money, and power, and tech, and agro. These and more in spite of a recession and a global pandemic. Responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency. The Council of Our Fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Treat your family to a cereal that's made from the natural goodness of maize and soya protein and specially combined with Grain Smart, a smart combination of vitamins and iron, so that they have the right kind of energy to help them reach their full potential and turn the simple into amazing. Eat up and carry go, because nothing do you. Golden Morn, make every day amazing.
Nestle, good food, good life.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, is...
So you have problems in the police, problems in the DSS, you have problems in the anti-corruption agencies. It's all because corruption is rampant and therefore indiscipline will take root. By the time we are able to challenge corruption, we are able to tame corruption, then we should be able to have a disciplined society.
And here are the closing.
Mr. Parivia, Bayo Tebe is with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good to see you again, Kirian.
Yeah, but
well, if you thought Kirian was lost, here he is. He's welcome back. Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you, Bayo. All right, Kingsley. Okay, we have about 3 papers here. First is The Nation. Above the nameplate of The Nation newspaper, Ngige, that's the Minister of Labour, say government didn't promise to pay ASU withheld salaries. That story is on page 4. Say federal government rejects U.S. report on religious freedom in Nigeria. That's federal government says it's worrisome. Says can really. It's on page 8 of The Nation. Petrol to sell for 162 naira 44 kobo per litre from December 11. Court rejects Mena's plea for adjournment. It's on page 3. Now below the nameplate of The Nation, Naira devaluation risky for foreign currency loan, says a report. Details on page 5. APC dissolves state local government world excos. With a rider, Buni committee gets 6 months. The Nation newspaper. Buhari to governors work with local chiefs to tackle insecurity. That's one of the headlines on this page. And that's all about it, Kingsley.
Serve chair. And INEC extends Buni's tenure. I won't withdraw suit against interim committee, ex-vice chairman Eta vows. APC dissolves party structures and PDP demands ruling parties deregistration. The photographs there on the front page of the paper show various scenes in United Kingdom yesterday where the coronavirus vaccine was being administered on a number of senior citizens, including an 80-year-old Josephine Faleye, who was at the Royal Free Hospital in London. 10,000 constables groan over unpaid 6-month salaries. That's according to the Population Commission. That's page 7. Amnesty International accuses military of killing aged people. Fresh end SARS protests plot to instigate coup. That's according to Northern Youths. That's on page 7. And woman sets lover on fire for ending relationship. Mena's briefcase companies had 3 billion naira turnover.
In an overview of the zones, he challenged governors to stop local rogues from illegal refining as well as blowing up pipelines. On banditry and kidnapping, the president says, we are thinking hard and we will make it possible for the army to get to the criminals and eliminate them. On the prolonged ASU strike, the federal government and ASU are to meet today. And the expectation from the Minister of Labour was that from the agreement, ASU was required to have called off its strike by today, December 9th. And on the side of government, Minister of Labour says that the meeting of 27th of November, ASU ought to have called off that strike. ASU says that they needed time to get across to all the member countries across the branches. ASU called for strike before December 9th. Minister of Labour got a waiver to have ASU salaries that has been held paid by December 9th, that is by today. Other government agencies that they have, other government requirements have been complied with. One, the constitution of a negotiating team. Already Professor Manzali has been appointed to renegotiate the 2009 agreement. The other one is the 40 billion N allowance that has been processed, and another 30 billion revitalization fund also have been approved and is awaiting universities to open. Meanwhile, the item of gazetting, which is at the doorstep of the Attorney General of the Federation, is also in process. The Ministry of Education is also ready to inaugurate the visiting. The population is now estimated at 206 million. The chairman of the Nigerian Population Commission gave this indication yesterday when he said that there is a process of doing what he described as enumeration area demarcation. This will start from December 9th and end January 20. So far, he says 260 local governments had been demarcated. The current exercise will demarcate 95 local governments. That will bring it to a total of 355. There are 774 local governments, and the expectation is that the enumeration will be completed and census will take place between 2020 and 2021. 2021 and 2022, early enough before the 2023 election. There is concern that our COVID-19 cases are rising. Yesterday, there was 350 new cases. Today, there are 550 recorded in 17 states. Last week, there was an increase because throughout last week we had 1,608 cases. That is covering the week from November 29 to 5th December. The previous week, November 22nd to 28, there was 1,102. And if you look at it, you see that the ascendancy is going up. And this is because we are again back in our own Harmattan period, which is a coincident with a winter and flu period. And so there is back to that. We stand the chance of risking increases in cases. So far, 791,539 samples have been tested across the country. As of today, we have 70,195 cases. Those discharged are 65,110. Unfortunately, we have lost 1,182, and those in hospital now for treatment are 3,903. So those increases our chances. And as at now, our situation is that our cases is going as high as it was back in August. We have succeeded in bringing it down, but we're already going back again to what the situation was.
Okay, Bayo, just to take the editorial from the Daily Trust, time to save the poultry industry. That's what the editorial is saying. Poultry industry?
Yes, poultry industry, the association, Poultry Association of Nigeria has raised alarm that there is a possibility of shutdown by January. This is because challenging with animal feeds. You recall there was a time the other day on Good Morning Nigeria when we were wondering why were there instances where people were importing maize into the country. We had assumed that we have sufficient maize. But the situation is that the Nigerian Association of Farmers are not able to go to the farm, and also the pandemic. Our quantum of production has reduced. But there's also a positive side to it. Nigerian soya bean is in high demand. Thank you, you too.
It's Good Morning Nigeria. We're reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with a spike in coronavirus cases in Nigeria.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
It's a season of smiles on our faces with LifeMate Furniture's 48% discount on all products, 20% discount on Royal products, and 30% discount on V-Mate electrical appliances.
From the 27th November to 20th December, treat your loved ones
and electric motorcycles.
So hurry and buy LifeMate Furniture to win great gifts and raffle tickets.
Prepare for the raffle draw on the 19th of December 2020, 1 p.m. at Chika Mba Close, Lekki Ekpe Expressway, Osapa Village, Lagos, Nigeria. Follow on Facebook at LifeMate Furniture to win beautiful toys and call
081 2000 6000 for more. Celebrate your Christmas with love.
Others remain emotionally dead for life. It is sad. This culture is not art, definitely not African. How did we allow bad culture to infiltrate and take over? Even if you lack fear for the law, what of fear of God? And you, why do you cover up rape acts when it happens? Remember, a problem share is say no to rape.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create
gatherings, despite warnings from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 against complacency.
The warnings of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 of the impending second wave of the virus has turned out to be a reality. Nigeria is recording an increase in cases. Could it be that people are no more adhering to safety protocols and guidelines, or some still don't believe COVID-19 is real? With some vaccines being described as over 90% effective, what needs to be done to tame the astronomical number of new cases? Guests are seated to provide answers to these and many more questions on Good Morning Nigeria.
Us to discuss these issues, would like to welcome to our studios Dr. Mohammed Kawu, is Acting Secretary of the Federal Capital Territory Health and Human Services Secretariat. Dr. Kawu, pleasure to have you back on Good Morning Nigeria.
Pleasure. Good morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. And the clear indication that we have is that our connection to, of course, will also get him to begin making his contribution. First, let's begin with Dr. Mohammed Kawu, Acting Secretary of the FCT, Human Services Secretariat, and of course, Health. Dr. Kawu, well, we have not had you on Good Morning Nigeria for a long while, and at the height of the pandemic, you were in and out of our studios, giving us an indication of what was playing out in the Federal Capital Territory. Numbers went down, and all of a sudden, we are seeing again a rise in the numbers. What is it that you are apprehending at this time?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Nigerians. We are all aware that the numbers are increasing, and that I just listened to one of your guests. He gave some reasons, and I think he was right. One, a lot of Nigerians are coming into the country. 1 to 2% of all those coming test positive, and that is about 100 per day. In fact, I mean imported cases. So by the time they come into the country, and you know the implication.
One, could be prompted to ask, whether there is no plan to observe those coming into this country with respect to having them tested or something, because I understand that in other parts of the world there is a protocol that guides travels around, and some people are tested because some have equipment that can give you results in 10, 15 minutes. So, because I know of some persons who just came into Nigeria just yesterday, right, and as rightly pointed out, that about a percentage of them, could be infected. And again, if you allow this, that means that this Christmas period will be just another wave of COVID-19, because, of course, it will spread, not just within the town, but in the villages, where those people coming from the US and Europe and other parts of the world are going to celebrate their Christmas. So is there no protocol with respect to this, at least to monitor those who are entering the country within this period?
Thank you so much. There is an established banks, and the protocol is every Nigerian coming in must test at day 7. If you're coming into this country, you must do your test at day 7. The reason being, by then, if you've got an infection just before you leave the country, the incubation period will have been ripe, so you must have developed antibody of entry, and you must fill a form. You will be directed to a particular lab of your choice that you want to do tests. You pay some money, and you do your test by day 7. Now, you are supposed to self-isolate between day 1 to day 7 until you go and do your test, and it's because it's private-driven, the test results are given within 24 hours. So, if you are found positive, you take your decision. If you have mild symptoms or asymptomatic, you self-isolate at home. And if you are sick, you have symptoms, then you are taken for treatment, the normal protocol. So that's what happens. And also those go for tests mandatorily. And a lot of people, not knowing they are positive, they just go for tests to travel, and results turn out, and a lot of them are found to be.
Dr. Kawu, we'll come back to you. Dr. Rita Oladele, tell us, what's your own reading of our national situation now as we are seeing an escalation in the figures of persons infected with coronavirus.
On how to curtail this, the spread of the virus, especially that asymptomatic group, because like my colleague from Abuja just said, you have to look at the fact that the Christmas seasons are around and there's going to be a lot of traveling. So in people going, one of the issues we've never really had are cases from the villages. So now people from the cities are now going to go to the villages, especially those that have a symptomatic carriage. It's time we put in a modality that will break that chain of infection in this, particularly in this season, because we do have a lot of asymptomatic cases that are not captured in these rising numbers that we are seeing.
All right, thank you. I will return to you in the course of the program. But for now, let's go to Dr. Nimkonlar. What's your own view, about the increase in the cases of coronavirus in Nigeria? I know that Plateau State is one of the states that also had its own fair share of infections, before now.
If you look at the data from NCDC, you find out that the Plateau is number three on the table. And looking back sometimes in October, our numbers in the Plateau was quite down. We were having 40, 45, 40, 36, but without that. So it's a big challenge that people need to look at it, because the number will continue to rise except we go back to our protocol, obeying the protocol again. And then looking at the weather again, the weather in Jos is a bit cold. People want to stay in groups. People stay indoors. People do a lot of things that aid in the transmission of this disease. So the number is likely to go high if the protocols are not seriously obeyed again. So that is an issue.
Thank you very much. From the public health management perspective, what exactly do you think we'll be faced with now in trying to enforce one more time those protocols that helped in no small measure in managing our coronavirus number? Then, of course, sustaining livelihoods. And right now, as you have indicated, and most of us do know, in many urban centers, you are like an oddity if you were wearing a face mask or insisting on maintaining social distance and so on and so forth, or even washing your hands. Some malls, you go there
to them, I would say no. It's a corona. We may have corona in the past, but this one is different. So we try as much as possible to enforce them, tell them, but people are tired. People are beginning to rebel that they cannot continue with this COVID-19 issue again. So definitely that is a public health issue. And as such, the only thing we have to go back to do is to engage the community elders again. We have to do community engagement, go back to the rulers, go back to the populace and tell them the importance of obeying this protocol. Otherwise, we are going to have more problems. So community engagement is another one. Trying to create awareness to the populace, to the community, that the way this is being transmitted, so that they should take care of themselves. So those are the issues that we are likely to have. And looking at it, we try to explain to them the vaccine, yes, they talk about the vaccine, but it's still very far with us to get the vaccine for now. So we have to depend on these protocols, since we don't have the vaccine and the drugs are not easily available now for us to use. So the only way out is to maintain the COVID-19 protocols to be able to forge ahead.
Is the National Coordinator, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. It's good to have you join us this morning, Dr. Ali.
Good morning. Nice to be here with you.
Yeah, I take it that you've been listening to our guests this morning on the issue of the spike that we're beginning to experience in this country with respect to COVID-19. My colleague...
We all know within the health sector that our treatment centers are starting to fill up again with cases, some of which are very, very, very sick patients. The virus is not anything less virulent. It is still as virulent. It is still as potentially deadly as it was back in March and April. When it comes to compliance. Risk communication is very important, but even more critical is the understanding that what we need is to accept personal responsibility for this. We have loved ones that are still very vulnerable to infection. COVID is still very much with us. The level of community transmission is still intense. People talk to me about the possibility of importation. Yes, but the number of cases potentially being imported is a drop in the ocean compared to what is going on. And really, there are 3 or 4 things that people need to continue to do in order to stop transmission. And there's no rocket science behind this. You need to maintain your physical distancing. You need to make sure that you're washing your hands or sanitizing your hands all the time and avoid crowds. And these measures are possibly more effective than any vaccine that you're going to have. The federal government is making every effort, working through the primary healthcare agency, to get these vaccines over to before. If you ask most Nigerians, when we used to do polling across the country, more than 90% of Nigerians know about COVID. The majority know about how to stop the transmission, but it's just this impression that things are over. It is not over yet. And if you catch COVID and you are unlucky, you could end up dying. And we're already seeing more and more people coming into hospital with severe illness. So we've got to protect ourselves. We've really got to protect ourselves. And when it comes to government buildings and public buildings, we will start reinforcing again. We've already communicated with the head of service some weeks back that public servants are mandated to wear masks in government offices because we have to lead by example ourselves. And for those cities and towns where people have completely thrown away the mask, you're playing Russian roulette with your life. We know from our data, if you're above the age of 50, those above the age of 50 that caught COVID in Nigeria, 23% mortality. That's almost a 1 in 4 mortality in terms of death. It's one of the highest death rates we have in the world when we age strike. For the vaccines are available, we have a form of vaccine. This is the non-pharmaceutical interventions, and they have to be abided by if we want to protect our loved ones and ourselves as well, because you cannot predict whether you're going to have severe infection or not. The youngest person to die of COVID in Abuja was about 38, 39 years old. He was relatively young. So we've got to do phoning out to make sure that really they haven't tested, and we will take action based on that. And in early January, we'll be making major changes to the portal to allow the cost to come down, hopefully even further, so that there will be no reason really, no excuse at all not to come into the country and have the test. We are reviewing the performance of the rapid test kits to see whether they will be just as good as the PCR. At the moment, about 1% of our passengers are currently positive at day 7. So for every 1,000, we're getting about 10 cases. But if we fully open the airports, we'll be having about up to between 70 to 100 cases coming in every day. So we've got to do something about this. But the numbers will continue to go up unless we change our behavior and start protecting ourselves from this virus. Over.
Dr. Sani Aleo, I still would like to stay with you. Now, help us to understand what happened, because we seem to have experienced even the structures that were set up to receive patients were being dismantled. That's to say, the isolation centers were being dismantled because fewer and fewer persons were being admitted. And then all of a sudden now, we are seeing this climb. What exactly is playing out?
Of course, when it comes to infections, it takes a while. The potential for transmission is not real. Very few people are wearing masks. Even in Abuja, when I go to a mosque in Abuja, I'm just amazed. People have completely relaxed these measures. And when you relax these measures, you're not going to see the impact straight away immediately. It will be 1 case becoming 3, and then becoming 9, and then over time, gradually, it will start picking up. And there's no doubt the reason why the numbers are going up is because of the lack of NPIs. Even if we were having imported cases, let's say 10 or 15 cases a day into Nigeria, or even more than that, if the general public are using non-pharmaceutical interventions, you're not going to have an increase in numbers, because those people that are infected will not transmit it to the next person. So if I'm wearing a mask, if I'm keeping a physical distance, corona does not fly. It will not open the door to my home and come in. If I'm an elderly person and protecting myself and staying at home, for instance, corona will not walk right up to my doorstep and infect me. So, of our change.
Well, thank you again. Well, you've made your point, but the issue here is that we are bouncing back, gradually to what it used to be, March, April, May, and it's so worrisome now because if we have a second wave of coronavirus in this country and enter into another lockdown and what have you, it will be very
dismantle it. Because, of course, I told the minister, let's close this because we are having 2, 3, 5 cases. He said, no, don't dismantle it, just leave it. We have DZ. We are the ones managing as FCT. We have 300-bedded facility. Those places we have, we can manage moderate cases because there's about 6 ICU beds there. So presently we have about 18 patients there. Now, the DSS...
Oxygen or ventilator?
Oxygen. The DSS has about 15 or 16 or so. So all our treatment centers are in place. The committees are in place. Presently, we have a meeting, FCT OC committee, by 10 o'clock to re-strategize. And as Dr. Sani Ali said, the most important is the society, is the community, is we people. Get into second wave if we are not in already.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kawu. Dr. Rita Oladele, let's bring you in again into the conversation. All right. We're just trying to sort that out. But in the meantime, all right, Dr. Rita Oladele, if you can hear me clearly, just tell us what picture are you seeing in terms of patients who are reporting with coronavirus? That's one leg of it. And secondly, of course, we know that 1 year ago, or perhaps even 7, 8 months ago, there seems to have been some very huge learning experience that was launched for the medical practitioners who are of course, caregivers for coronavirus patients. Is there any indication that, assuming we were to have a real, with some huge impact, that we can respond with our personnel and pharmaceutical intervention other than the non-pharmaceutical intervention?
Well, the lessons have been learned, the structures have been put in place, and I must say that Nigerian healthcare workers are, despite the limited resources at their fingertips, of mild infections. So that group needs to be harnessed. And most of the time, the people that those group of people look up to are our local celebrities. So it's time to also draw these local celebrities into, they are the ones that hold shows, that these young ones with their mild infections and asymptomatic is not going to go away anytime soon. There are going to be spikes here and then. So we need to get everybody on board to be part of it. My particular worry is for that mild and asymptomatic group, the people that come down with what looks like malaria and stay at home and treat themselves. They won't just take anti-malarials and they get better.
Is number 3 on the list of course, the number of infections we have in the country. That shows that it's on the high side on the plateau. What measures have been put in place by the government of of Plateau State to ensure that the number is brought down to the barest minimum? Are you prepared to return to what the situation used to be with respect to making the populace to understand the cost of history of this kind of virus, and that it's not gone yet, and that people should return to the non-pharmaceutical approach, which of course is the wearing of masks and what have you? Because as it is right now, if we leave this unattended to, within this Christmas period, then it's going to be disastrous, especially in those areas, where you have pointed out that, look, it's on the high side, especially Plateau.
Thank you very much. On the Plateau, we have all the structure. We have our task force that is on. Our EOC is very active. We're meeting every day and taking decisions. Our treatment centers are still functional. We have 2 treatment centers, one in Riom, local government, and the other one is in Shandam, local government. And we have our isolation centers. The 3 isolation centers are functional. The one in Jos University Teaching Hospital, Bingham University, and then washing of hands, again, very important. We'll go back to the community engagement, telling them to note that this disease is coming up again, or there is an increase in number, and as such, people should take proactive measures. And it's something that is very important. We have to tell the people again, in some communities, they still believe that COVID-19 does not exist. And we say, no, we have to enlighten them more and tell them, no, it's there. The disease is there, and they should obey the protocols. Something that I think is also very important for us on the Plateau, the weather. Our weather is a bit cold, and with this COVID, likely people are going to aggregate. During this Christmas time that is coming up, people are going to be involved in so many activities that there will be a lot of crowd. So we have to talk to them, the needs for people, the vulnerable groups, to be sure that they put on their masks. And they shouldn't go into the gathering where there are many people. As much as possible, they shouldn't be involved. And if they must go, they must wear their masks and obey all the protocols. Otherwise, we are going to have another serious spike. But then the structures are there on ground to handle any eventuality that will.
Challenges. When we first started, there are things that we would have funded in a different way if the COVID-19 pandemic was starting now. So, for instance, the aspects of particularly community engagement, working with the community leaders, religious leaders, opinion leaders, etc., within the communities. And we have tried to address this. We've had meetings with NAREC. Our chairman has also met across the board with a lot of the political leadership. We continue to have very strong linkages with the Nigeria Governance Forum, and in particular, Governor Okowa and his team, whom we have been meeting virtually every other week. In fact, this evening we have a meeting this Thursday at 8 p.m. with the group. So, but what I'm trying to say here is it's all about collective responsibility. When you ask me the question, why are the numbers going up? The numbers are going up simply because our behavior has changed compared to March, April. People are no longer afraid of this because we're not having dead bodies on the streets. We're not seeing people bleeding to death because this isn't Ebola, etc. You don't really have that shock factor that comes with other pandemics. But we've been very lucky in this country. And the only thing that has changed dramatically over the last few weeks, as I said, is that people's behavior has progressively changed. I can see people relaxing. Before, people will not even give me their hand to shake. Now, people are struggling to give me their hand to shake because they feel that we are being unnecessarily restrictive. And that cannot be right because the virus has not gone away. So I keep on saying, ask and start chatting with people. I still maintain that distance. So really, we need to continue to have a heightened sense of awareness. These pharmaceutical interventions that we keep on talking about, it's not rocket science. We know that it works. The reason why Europe are currently having a large number of infections is because they gradually went back to normal. They started interacting, they started having mass gatherings, and now that we are having a major holiday season coming in, we're going to have, as Dr. La said, a large number of people congregating, parties, etc. And these mass gatherings are the perfect opportunity for the virus to spread. As far as Corona is concerned, Corona is very happy that this holiday season is approaching because it will be a great opportunity for Corona to spread. So we've got to fight Corona. We've got to stop it from. So both contact tracing as well as testing is the responsibility of the states. And I'm pleased a lot of the states are still continuing to do this, especially as the numbers go down. It's easier to do contact tracing. There's a level of community transmission that you will have where contact tracing becomes impossible. All you have to do is to make sure that you inform those that have had COVID and make sure that they isolate themselves, keep themselves away. But it's impossible to trace every single contact if you have endemic community transmission. And one of the reasons why the PTF continues to be very worried, it isn't just about the death rates or the mortality linked to COVID. It's also the fact that if you allow COVID to become endemic in your country, as other countries sort out their problem, Nigeria could potentially become a pariah nation in terms of travel, in terms of people coming in for business, etc. And there is a real risk that if the numbers continue to go up, and they will go up if we don't change our behavior, by the way. There's no amount of intervention other than changing our behavior that will interrupt these figures. The reason why the numbers went down from March, April, May, June, and came down to very low levels in October was because people should not relax their guard. COVID has not gone away. It is still in the country. And the number of importations are small compared to what is going on within the communities, and especially as the communities relax completely. So let us please be responsible and be.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, the conversation continues.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experienced it will run out.
If you know they fear law where man put, you know they fear Baba God there. You self, you where they cover mouth so you see mini one they happen. You know what here when the Oyibo talk say problem where they bring come out. They solve and sharply. Remember, person where feel rape. If it's a key person, no, if it be you, if it be your pikin, if it be person them where you love well. So make we learn.
Say the case fatality rate.
Festus Okunboye was sad that the well-being of Nigerians has suffered hugely during COVID-19 pandemic. Also sad that we are seeing a nationwide increase in the disease that will lead to hospitals or hospitalization and loss of lives. Time we take COVID-19 seriously and follow the guidelines during this festive season. And government at all levels must come up with the new restrictions that are required to tackle the spread of this second wave of COVID-19 in our country.
Now, Akedro statistical practice. These figures make up for 2 or more days, but are released as if it's a figure for a specific date. This obviously explains the distortion when you plot it as a map to understand the trend in order to make decisions.
Well, Leo Fadaka, the assumption nonchalance towards the assumptive the second phase. Where should we run to? New infections were recorded yesterday. With the rapid increase in confirmed cases, do federal government and NCDC have enough vaccines to treat the patients who contracted the virus?
Titus Mondenok says
new infections were recorded yesterday. With the rapid increase in confirmed cases, do federal government and NCDC have enough vaccines to treat the patients who contracted the virus?
Titus Mondenok says, as long as people are complacent and continue with their non-adherence to simple COVID-19 protocols, the surge would continue. It says you can control the virus surge with your attitude and not by negating the protocols. We shouldn't allow a second wave to overwhelm us.
Mutana Farouk, the statistical increase in COVID-19 cases may have been connected to the self-relaxation of many people who felt that the coast is almost clear. However, the authenticity of the new reported cases is debatable because the normal malaria and fever are prevalent this period.
Is there any period where malaria is not prevalent? Let's be realistic. I mean, the coronavirus isn't malaria. The experts have already established that. Yes, some of the signs may mimic malaria, but coronavirus is different. Osman, the surge of COVID-19 in recent times. Well, if you've been listening to the experts, they've been indicating a multiplicity of reasons why we are now seeing a rise in the number of infections.
Cecilia Koroma, Nigerians live in doubt about COVID-19 pandemic. NCDC must urgently rise up for information dissemination. If you go to our markets, churches, gardens, public places, rarely will you find protocol adherence to mask wearing.
That our low figures arose from the fact that we were not doing sufficient testing or that our testing wasn't as widespread as we were seeing in other locations, such as South Africa, for instance, where their fatalities are well over 20,000, and their infection rate is indeed much higher than any other country on the African continent. What are we seeing now? Are we seeing more testing, or there's just reluctance for people to walk into a center and say, look, I want to get tested, or they do testing because they need the certificate, assuming they are coronavirus free, for other official purposes?
No, we do a lot of testing. If you just remember when NYC opened, every member test, and he said the minimum we can charge is this much. Are you getting me? So you understand how much government, if you ask the national coordinator, government spends so much in testing Nigerians. Now, we are trying to see if you can use the rapid test, which is going to be cheaper. And we did in NYC camps using the rapid test, and it's promising.
Other places, so you have quite a number of them now in different parts of the country. But at the state level, how much testing is going on? Because, I mean, what science tells us, you the experts as well, is that without testing, you just might not know the number of cases that are in your environment.
On the plateau, we have 3 testing centers. They have another lab that is in the Plateau State Viral Research Center, which is located in Plateau Specialist Hospital. That's another lab that we will be using now of recent. Because sometimes we had issues with the one in Vaughan, because there's this international assessment team and maintenance of equipment that came from South Africa to look at the equipment in NVRI. So we are in Jos South. Those are the hotspot local governments. So we have, in each of those centers, we have up to 5 collection centers in those local governments to be able to take sample as much as possible. So we don't have much issue with testing, except that we have issues with the commodities, testing commodity, especially for taking the samples. Because sometimes we even give money around. We are looking for Falcon tubes, VTMs, swab sticks, and those things were not available. We have to send people to Onitsha to get some of them, but we are having issues with them. The money is there to pay for it, but in the long run, we are testing and we'll continue to test. Even, for example, yesterday, we took almost 300 samples from individuals that presented themselves for testing. So testing is an ongoing, and the PTA has given us a figure before that we should test at least 87,000 individuals on the plateau. And now we are over.
Any plan by Nigeria, and of course the COVID-19 task force, on any plan to begin to source for it? Because it might take time, really, but then one has to plan to be able to. It does appear that if this vaccine is not applied, that the COVID-19 may never leave the universe as we see it. And I want to bring in Dr. Rita Oladele here as a microbiologist. Do you foresee a situation where African nations could have access to the vaccines? And again, is there any...
So that we can guarantee cold chain because there's shorter distance to travel, and we can guarantee that if it's produced locally, the cost implication might come down. That is one. 2, about us producing our own local vaccine. Vaccines are...
Including, of course, the CEO of the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Professor Tomori, and the Director Azodo from Federal Ministry of Health, and of course, Professor Nasidi, whom we all know very well on this issue. So the committee is still working on that, and we'll sort out the issue. But I would like to bring in Dr. Sani Aliu now to just talk generally about the issue of the vaccine. Dr. Aliu, I wouldn't know, but let me peep into your messaging box. I believe that you probably would have seen some viral messages on the social media seeking to demarket the coronavirus vaccine, telling you all kinds of health implications that might arise from it if anyone took the vaccine. But we saw yesterday the first shot was given and now it's been administered.
We now have a stream of work that has to do not only with the introduction of the vaccine, but also the logistics and, as Rita said, the issue of cold chain equipment, etc. There's no doubt 2021 is going to be all about coronavirus. It's going to be about the COVID vaccine. 2020 was all about non-pharmaceutical interventions and how coronavirus is affecting economies, etc. 2021 will be about how efficiently countries can get on and administer these vaccines to their citizens. And the social media has been, to a large extent, extremely unhelpful when it comes to the issue of vaccine. And that's why we really have to put in a lot of risk communication when it comes to vaccine awareness and vaccine acceptance. And also vaccine hesitancy, what we call vaccine hesitancy. In other words, understanding why are people being hesitant when it comes to taking vaccines. I was at a dinner recently, and the majority of people around the table were saying that they would not have a vaccine. And I said to them, why? Do you really feel harmed by a vaccine? Do you really think, let's say, the UK, the US, European countries, China, Russia, etc., will administer substances that will harm their citizens? No, they wouldn't. They care as much about their citizens as Nigeria does about its own citizens. Today, if there's a vaccine in Nigeria, I'll be the first to take it. My colleagues came to, and with COVID, there was no shortage of subjects. There was no shortage of people. So far, the side effects of the vaccine have been very minimal. Yes, it's a novel form of producing a vaccine. It's a messenger RNA. It's an mRNA vaccine. So it changes the way the cells work in terms of spilling out the spike proteins that induce the body's immune system to produce antibodies. But it's been shown to be effective, and very few vaccines have efficacy of greater than 90%. Even the childhood vaccines don't. A lot of the childhood vaccines, maybe measles, is very efficient. Most of the live vaccines are quite effective. But if you look at the flu vaccine, which is done from year to year, at best, you might have a match of maybe 70%. So my appeal to the general public is, yes, these vaccines are coming. The country is already making a lot of effort through primary health care and the Federal Ministry of Health. It will require a lot of logistics. We are already the UN system, the US government, etc. But eventually, we will bring this vaccine in. It's a priority, and we will give it in terms of the modalities. You asked about the protocol. At the moment, what we are discussing is the first phase would involve 44 million Nigerians. These are people that are above the age of 60 or 55. I'm not sure I don't think we've arrived at a definite, but the sort of approaching elderly, those that have diabetes, cardiovascular disease, etc. They are the priorities because they're the ones that will end up having a high risk of death. And as I said, 23% of those above the age of 50 having COVID in Nigeria, based on our data, died. So they are the ones that we're going to start protecting first.
Well, we'd also like to thank other guests who made a very valid contribution to this conversation. Mohammed Kau, Acting Secretary, FCT Health and Human Services Secretariat here in Abuja. Dr. Rita Oladele, Consultant Clinical Microbiologist, Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, and a lecturer at the University of Lagos. We appreciate your contributions this morning. I would also like to appreciate Dr. Nikong Lar, Commissioner for Health, Plateau State. It's been a pleasure talking to you this morning on this very important topic.
All right, so that does it for us today on Good Morning Nigeria. As always, we appreciate your tuning in. The program returns tomorrow, same time, 7 in the morning. Until then, take care of yourself, stay safe and be well. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Kieran Umar. See you again.